Hello, can you hear me?
All right. I think I've got this to work. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. How are you
Alrighty
doing
then.
today?
I am not going to run my audio because I have a little one that could jump in on me at any time, so I would prefer not to have her on camera.
Okay.
All right, so where do you want to start?
I guess we should start at the beginning about what your actual problem is with me to begin with, because so it seemed that I was minding my own business and trying to promote the platform here in a debate group and trying to encourage people to actually engage in actual live discussion versus engaging in just texting back and forth. Most of which, in these so-called debate groups on Facebook, much of what's said is just simply overlooked, and people don't, take it serious. Sometimes they don't even read it, and so, in my opinion, instead of wasting vast amounts of time engaging in answering the same questions over and over and over again, it's better to come to a platform like this to where we can actually have a live discussion and proceed
Okay,
from there.
well, you said you wanted to have a discussion of Islam versus atheism. I thought that was
Sure,
the
yeah,
whole idea.
no, we'll get to that, but you just asked me a question about where do we start. So, uh, obviously, excuse me, let me turn my phone off. Obviously, you have a problem with me minding my own business, and so therefore that's where the contention starts, and I think you would agree with that. You'd have to agree with that because obviously I haven't gone on any of your posts other than the video that you posted. We'll talk about that here briefly, but I haven't gone to any of your posts and made any comments whatsoever. Honestly, I don't care what you do with your life. You're an atheist. I don't care what you believe. I haven't tried to convince you to accept Islam or to believe anything that I say. And when I originally went to that group, I was posting, trying to advertise for this platform, and
Hmm.
nothing more
You've
than that.
been basically
Minding my own
spamming the
business.
group,
Huh?
basically spamming the group on a daily
No, no,
basis
not
about your
spamming the
book and
group.
about your.
No, 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 no.
That's
Because
considered spam.
if you've noticed
Uh,
what I've done here is I've actually, when we do go live, many times I'll go to that group and I'll actually go live in that group. And I also post a link for people to be able to come on and actually join in on the conversation. So I'm not spamming. What I'm doing is providing avenue for actual
Well,
debate to take place.
a lot of people do view it as spam. I'm not the
Okay,
only
that's
one.
fine. That's your opinion. You can call it spamming if you'd like to. I call it advertising, and obviously I'm trying to build a platform, and I'm going to a debate group in order to build the platform, and I'm trying to get people who think that they're actually debating to come in and actually have an actual conversation. And if they want to have a live moderated debate, then we can set up a live moderated debate. Right?
Okay.
But what it boils down to is me minding my own business, not harming you. I don't even know who you are, right? I didn't know who you were. But for the last month or so, the last 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it's been, you in particular, and Tracy Dugan and a couple other people in that group have been purposely going to my posts when I have done you no wrong whatsoever, right? Hold on, minding my own business. Hold on, minding my own business, and you have antagonized me relentlessly, right? And so I've
And you
responded.
haven't done the same?
No, no, I've responded to you, and I have every right as a human being to defend myself. So when
Okay,
someone
so
makes a
you're
derogatory
posting
comment, hold on. When
you're
someone makes a derogatory comment, I have every right as a human being to respond to that
okay,
derogatory
so
comment.
that's what I'm doing as well because the
Okay,
whole
no, 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 no,
situation
no. Hold
between
on.
you and I,
Let's
do I
let's stop
actually
right
get to
there.
speak? Because
No, no,
if you're
no.
not
I'm
if
going
I'm
to allow
not
you
going
to
to get a turn
speak.
to talk,
I'm
if
going to
I'm
allow
not
you
going to
to
get a turn
speak.
to talk, then I'm
Sure.
not going to even participate in the discussion
Okay,
because
go
it's
ahead. Go
just
ahead.
you
All
talking
right,
at
go ahead.
me.
I don't need you
So
here to be honest, but go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
don't
please
need to
begin
be
to.
here either, but
But well, if you
I
notice,
was
you
going to
interrupted me. I
participate
wasn't finished my frame
because
of thought,
all
and
you've
you
done is
interrupted me
talk
just
so
like
far
you
and you
did
haven't.
just like
Okay,
you did
all right, this is not
repeatedly
going to be
in the
productive.
video that you posted. right? So now you're frustrated. Hold on. So now you're interrupting me again. So the interruption is coming from you. Hold on. Okay, you know what I've got? I've got a timer right here, right? I use this timer all the time on my show. And so I'm going to speak for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to give you 2 minutes. And then I'll speak for 2 minutes, and then I'll give you 2 minutes. That way you don't, in your hypocrisy, accuse me of doing something that you yourself are doing. I was making now you're doing it again. So now you're interrupting me again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set my 2 minutes. I don't know if you can see you see the 2 minutes on there? I can see it. So, alhamdulillah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my 2 minutes, and I'm going to speak. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I do bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final servant, the seal of all prophets. I'm engaged in a conversation with the atheist woman that I've been having issues with in a Facebook group. So back to what I was stating. I went into the group and I made posts, not harming anyone, not trying to cause problems with anyone, not attacking anyone, but you and 3 or 4 other people, you know who they are, have antagonized and relentlessly badgered me for doing nothing but minding my own business. Okay, so you can call it spamming, but I've gone to debate groups in order to create debate, right? So to go in and say, hey, if you'd like to actually engage in a live discussion, if you want to be in a debate platform, you want to engage in a true debate, then here's an avenue to do so. So I don't see how that affects you in your life, or what would drive you to feel like you needed to antagonize me, but that's where the problem started. And so what you've done is you've created a problem through your antagonization, and you're attacking me relentlessly, when in all reality, to begin with, I hadn't done you any harm whatsoever. Hadn't done anything to affect you or your life. I was minding my own business. And then in response to the antagonism, I responded, right? And so we've proceeded from there. I do believe that you're a liar. You are a deceiver, and you are a liar, and I will prove that in the midst of this conversation. Once again, because you have no moral compass, you've once again interrupted me when I still had about 25 seconds to complete my thought. When you start speaking at your 2 minutes, I promise you, I'm going to be silent. I'm going to show you a bit of respect, even though you actually haven't earned it. Okay? But because I'm a Muslim, I'm going to give you that respect. And in my last 10 seconds, I'm going to repeat that you started the problem by coming to my post and making comments. I've never posted on any of your posts other than that ridiculous video that you made. You hear the timer? Now you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, you're posting in a public forum, which opens you up to have anyone post or comment on your post, basically. So I have the freedom to go and do that and share my opinion as others have done in the group. So I'm not sure why you have a problem with that. If you don't like people, busting in on your business, then why are you posting in a public forum where I can do that? And then you have been just as antagonizing to us as we have been to you. It's been a two-way street. When you started calling me a liar and filthy and disgusting, which I have comments and proof of all the nasty things that you've called me, and it's proven in my video because I put up the comments. So you've been just as awful to us as a lot of people have been to you. So I'm not sure what you expect when you can dish it out, but you can't seem to take it as well. It's a two-way street. And I'll go ahead and I'll give you my last minute.
Okay. I don't think you had much to say, to be honest. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep timing myself because I'm going to utilize the time that I have to say what I need to say. So in saying that, so once again, what you've done, you've sidestepped the issue. The issue began when you came to my post and were making comments on my post. Sure, it's a public platform. That's fine. You can do that. But it's not just commenting on the post, but the relentless back and forth over and over and over again, out of the blue, for no reason, because I had done no wrong to you whatsoever. It seemed that you and other people in the group were simply agitated because I didn't want to engage in long, drawn-out text debate that isn't really debate. It's just a bunch of texting back and forth in copy and paste land is what I call it. That's not debate, okay? That's a waste of valuable time that I have no use in wasting, okay? So what I do with my life has no bearing on what you do. You could have simply scrolled past, just like everyone else, that you've admitted has come to me and made numerous comments, which were actually the root of the problem, right? My responses have been obviously in response to what we're talking about. You coming to my post, other people coming to my post, and antagonizing for really no reason. When you can simply just, if you, I mean, come on, this is social media. If you see something that you don't want to look at, you scroll right past it. You don't pay any mind to it. You just move on, go about your business. But because of the disease in your heart, and you are a liar, and I will prove that in the course of this discussion if you stay here long enough. I guarantee you I'll prove that you're a liar and a deceiver. No question about it. And have I called you that repeatedly? Absolutely. And I'm telling you that you're a liar and a deceiver now. Alhamdulillah. Truth is made clear from falsehood. I have no reason to hold my tongue with you because you're not one that's worthy of my respect. I try to give respect because I'm a Muslim, but if a person keeps on and on and on, you've disqualified yourself from that respect. Now I have to hand you in a different way. So go ahead and take 2 minutes to say what you'd like to say.
Well, first of all, it's a debate group. It's a text debate group. And you absolutely flat out refuse to debate in a debate group, which is what a lot of us have a hard time understanding. So, and a lot of times you'll respond to a comment saying, I'm not going to debate here. I don't have time to debate here. I'm a busy person. I can't debate here. But you have plenty of time to sit there and insult people, but you don't want to actually engage in meaningful discussion. So why should we be nice to you? Like, I don't understand the logic there. You come to a debate group but refuse to debate. Where's the logic there? And then, I mean, if you have proof that I'm a liar, go for it. Provide it. I've been asking you to provide it, and all you've done is posted the video. I was able to go through it and pick out the points that I was talking about that you called me originally a liar for, and I was able to prove that I didn't lie about anything. So if you've got more information about what I lied about, go ahead, prove it.
Are you done?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to take my full 2 minutes because I realized once again I didn't figure you would have anything to say. So let me reset it. So you've done nothing but banter, to be quite honest, because I've already told you that I went into a debate group in order to provide a platform for people to engage in actual debate. Okay, so yeah, did I go into a debate group and say that I refuse to debate here? Because it's not debate there. It's copy and paste land, and it's people making derogatory. Listen. I do this all the time, as you see, right? But what I don't do is I do not waste my valuable time bantering back and forth with people such as yourself, as a matter of fact, by text, and waste all this time debating about serious issues. And what I'm talking about is serious issues regarding religion itself. That's what I want to talk about. So my responses to you in the group, they're really brief. Some of them been a little bit longer because I had to address a point, and I went ahead and took time to do so if I had time to do so. Most of the time, I don't have time for that nonsense, okay? I have people contacting me just like you all of the time, making derogatory comments. Alhamdulillah. It's part of the process. It's part of developing myself as a public figure, being an author. I have people attacking me on YouTube, people attacking me in different platforms. That's fine. Simply because I'm a Muslim, right? First and foremost, that's what your issue is, because I'm a believer and you're a disbeliever. That's fine. I don't expect you to believe anything that I say, but I do expect decency, not from atheists such as yourself. Why? Because you have no moral compass. But as I told you, because I'm a Muslim, initially I'm like, what is the problem with me coming to a debate group in order to provide a platform for actual live discussion? Is it affecting you in some detrimental way in your life? Absolutely not. Does it have any bearing on the outcome of your life? Does it affect you and your family? Absolutely not. But you waste valuable time that you could do something else by going to my post and mentioning my name over and over and over again. Alhamdulillah. All you're doing, you know what you do that, when you're doing that, that's my 2 minutes. All you're doing is, like I've told you repeatedly, you're just building my platform. Every time you mention my name, you're mentioning my name. Alhamdulillah. I'm not trying to seek no self-glory, but that's just the fact of the matter. And I'll give you a little bit more time if you need it, but no publicity is bad publicity. You've heard that before, right? All publicity is good publicity, and I'm building a platform. I'm building a persona. I'm building my my brand, just like anyone else in a business, any other author, any other person who does something in public. It's part of the process. So thank you. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes, or you have 2 minutes 30 seconds if you'd like.
You're being repeatedly derogatory to me, saying that I don't deserve respect and that I'm a liar. So I haven't called you any names yet. So
no, not today. You haven't. Not today. You haven't.
You're interrupting me.
Go ahead.
You have called me a liar in this call already so far a few times. So
yeah, you are.
What I'm asking you to.
I've called you a liar today because you are, and I don't mean to interrupt you. I'll give you more time.
Well, if you let me
I've called you a liar, and I call you a liar
and
again,
now
and I'll
you're
prove that you're a
interrupting
liar.
me.
And I'm going to prove that you're a liar. Okay, so.
Okay, I would let.
Go ahead. Take 2 full minutes. Go ahead. I'll shut up, and I won't say another word for another 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Are you sure? Okay, good. All right, so you say that I'm a liar. You keep saying that I'm a liar repeatedly, calling me derogatory names. I would like you to prove what you think I am lying about. That's all. That's what I'm asking for.
That's it? Okay. So, once again, I knew you didn't have anything to say, alhamdulillah. But I do have something to say. And so what we're going to do in the course, if you stay here long enough, what I'm going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to play your video where you cherry-picked portions of a conversation. Now, mind you, for everyone listening, okay, alhamdulillah, because I am recording this, alhamdulillah. And so for everyone listening, okay, so what transpired is this, that you came into this platform, okay, and sat here for an hour, engaged somewhat in the chat here or there, and then you decided after about an hour to go ahead and join the conversation. And for 3.5 hours, we engaged you. And most of the conversation, 95% of the conversation, we were just talking peacefully, right? We're just conversation back and forth. You ask questions, we ask questions.
And I don't dispute that.
Right, you don't dispute that. Thank you for admitting that.
And I explained that in my video actually as well.
Right. And so, but what you've done in the video, you've taken snippets, just 2 or 3 occasions where the conversation got a little more heated, where you yourself were interrupting. As a matter of fact, at the end there where you had such an issue when I told you that you were being unreasonable, because indeed you were actually interrupting me in the process, just like you've done here today. Okay, so what you've tried to do in your deception is you've tried to lead people, because I guess you're a white atheist woman, you're trying to seek sympathy from those who are...
I didn't bring race
hold on, see, now you're interrupting me again, right? You're interrupting me again, alhamdulillah. See how truth is made clear from falsehood? So the very things that you accused us of, you were actually guilty of yourself. And so by denying that fact, you're a liar and a deceiver, and your intention was to try to undermine me as well as the brothers on the show and try to act as though we treated you with disrespect when we treated you with no more disrespect than you treated us. You talked over us, and no one tried to force you to believe anything that we were saying, anything like that. And no one called you any names during that show. I simply told you that at this point you're being unreasonable. I don't know if you're sleepy or you just need some sleep, but you're being unreasonable at this point. Because, hold on, there you go again, interrupting me. I still have 30 seconds left. But you made a complete hypocrite out of yourself, and a hypocrite is indeed a deceiver, because they are guilty of the very thing they're trying to accuse someone else of. And so in that way, because you're a deceiver, you're also a liar. And we can go through the video, we can go point by point that you made. And even in your own video, for anyone who looks at it with an objective mind, can see that you've actually exposed yourself in your own video. Do I expect your atheist cohorts to agree with that? No, they're not going to agree with me on anything I say. That's plain and simple. Simply because they're atheists, and I'm a Muslim, I'm a believer, and they're not going to believe anything that I have to say. They're not going to agree. Period. Okay, so I don't expect that, and I said that repeatedly. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, I came in here under the pretense that we were going to have a discussion about a particular religious debate, and
sure,
instead you want to go back and forth about a personal issue between the two of us. So do you want to discuss the personal issue, or do you want to discuss the religious issue?
Okay.
Because I'm not interested in going back and forth and having a fight about these personal issues between us. If you want to have a religious discussion, then let's go ahead and do it. If not, then I have better things to do.
Okay, great, great. Once again, I didn't think you had anything to say. Are you done? You still have a minute 30 seconds, but you're probably done again, right?
Well, see, you're being very condescending now, and
I
I just
am.
asked you a question.
Indeed, I am. Because you bump a lot of lip on Facebook when you're amongst all your atheist friends, right? But you really have nothing to say. And in the conversation that we had that you made the video about, that you cherry picked,
See, you want to keep the personal discussion going.
When you did all the cherry picking, right? You didn't really have anything to say then either. So if you want to talk about religion, for one, you don't have a religion, okay? So that you're limited there. But if you want to talk about the difference between Islam and atheism, we can do that all day, and you will lose time and time again. You want me to prove it? Let's get busy. You want to start? You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, for one, I wanted to discuss the actual topic, which you said was Islam versus atheism.
Okay.
And what's better for society.
Okay.
Well, first I wanted to point out the error in the whole atheism, because we had discussed this in a previous video, that atheism is a stance on one question about whether or not any gods or a god exists. So what you are actually wanting to discuss is secularism, which is a society that has no belief or no religion or no god. So I wanted to correct you in regards to that. And I had written down a bunch of topics here, and I wanted to know basically from you why you think that Islam is beneficial to society, and what you thought Islam gives to society that someone that is secular or an atheist does not.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I figured so. Okay, so no, I don't want to talk about secularism. I just told you. Let me turn this.
Okay, well, if you don't want to talk about secularism, then why are we here?
Okay, well, we're here to talk about atheism and Islam.
Okay, so
so Islam. Let's clarify. Obviously, you need an education on the matter. Obviously, Islam is not
Okay.
secularism. Islam is a religion. Okay, so atheism is part of secularism, but that's not the topic of discussion, is it? We're talking about the difference between Islam and atheism. Okay, so plain and simply. So if you think you have some topics that you have a better answer for, being an atheist, than I do as a Muslim, a better answer for an individual or for society as a whole, I doubt it, and I doubt that very, very seriously. So you can pick up whatever topic you want to, and I assure you, Islam has a complete and comprehensive answer for whatever issue that you bring up. There's no question in my mind about that. Okay, no question in my mind about that. But even in the video when you were online with us in the discussion for 3.5 hours, okay, I asked you what. I forgot what the topic was at that point, but I asked you a question. What answer did atheism have for whatever the point was? And we can go through whatever topics you think that you have that you want to talk about. But what you're going to find is in your atheism, you probably don't have an answer for it. But Islam will have an answer for it. Islam will have a clear directive and a clear path in order to deal with whatever society brings, whatever issue there is in society, whatever issue that any individual faces in society. Okay? So for the individual and for society collectively. And atheism simply doesn't have an answer for that. And we're going to prove that today. No question about it. Because truth is made clear from falsehood. Go ahead. I have 40 seconds left, but actually I stopped the timer briefly by accident. But go ahead.
Well, let's go ahead and define what atheism is. It's simply a disbelief or a lack of belief in the existence of God or gods. That's it. That's all it is. So you're trying to make it more complicated than what it simply is. What you're trying to describe is, again, a secular society, which is what part of atheism is. So you're trying to apply atheism to something that it doesn't apply to. So atheism doesn't need to have answers for anything. And that doesn't make it good or bad. That's what it is. So you're trying to say that Islam is better for society because it has answers for things? But you don't need any religion to have answers for things. Like, for example, with what we talked about in the video previously about the answer for homelessness, right? You say Islam has an answer for homelessness. Atheism does not have an answer for homelessness, but it also doesn't need one, because you don't need a religion to go out and help people that are homeless. You don't need to volunteer for food banks. You don't need to volunteer at homeless shelters. You don't need a religion to motivate you to do that. You don't need a belief system in order to motivate you to do that. All you need is a will to help your fellow person. That's it. So what difference does it make whether you have a religion or you don't have a religion? Just go out and help people. That's it.
Great. So you've admitted yourself that you have no argument in regards to the comparison between Islam and atheism. You've said yourself, matter of fact, at least 4 times already, collectively. You've said it about 4 times. I've heard you make the statement that atheism has no answer for these issues. You said that atheism doesn't need one. But in fact, Islam does have an answer, and Islam says that we do need one. Why? Because there should be no homelessness. So in Islam, we're directed as Muslims to reach out and try to help those that are in need, and provide shelter when we can provide shelter, provide food when we can provide food. We're guided to do this. We're encouraged to do this. Atheism doesn't encourage anyone to do this, right? So what's better? Don't interrupt me. Okay, don't interrupt me. So what's better for society? What's better for the individual? We're going to say society, okay, or whatever. What's better, to have a belief system that encourages you to do what's best for society in helping the homeless and staying away from alcohol and not engaging in sex outside of marriage and all these other issues in society, that it's actually better for society if people collectively stayed away from those things. Islam guides people, guides humanity to live a righteous life and live a life that's better for the individual as well as society as a whole. And you've admitted yourself, thank you, that atheism has no answer for these issues. So really, you have no argument. You're just wanting to simply banter back and forth or antagonize simply because you have an uneasiness within yourself. You look at it psychologically, you have an uneasiness within yourself about any reminder about our Creator. Anytime you're reminded about our Creator, you feel a discomfort within yourself. Why? Because it's easier to live without a belief system and believing that you, as I summarized, living without a belief system, without feeling that you have to answer to someone, than it is to actually feel that you do have to answer to someone and that you are being held accountable for every action and every deed. It's easier for you to take the easy route and say, I don't believe in all that nonsense, and try to push it away from your acknowledgement. But obviously, as I summarize, and this is the last thing I'll say, obviously you have admitted that atheism has no answer for these issues. So all the points that you thought you can bring up, let's bring them up, and you'll see that Islam is going to win time and time again, just like I told you it would. Alhamdulillah. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, you're making assumptions of my own feelings, so you need to stop that. Okay, so let's just keep it to facts instead of you saying that I feel a certain way, because you don't know whether or not I feel a certain way. So, number 1, let's get that out of the way. Number 2, again, I explain to you what atheism is, and it seems to kind of go over your head that you don't understand what atheism is, that it's one answer to one question. That's it. You are trying to complicate it and make it more than what it actually is. So I don't know how else to explain that to you so that you understand what atheism is.
Okay,
I can read the definition to you again if that helps. Number 2, you are saying that Islam guides people to help others. Why do I need a religion to guide me to help others? Why can't I just rely on my own empathy in order to go and help others? Why do I need to believe in something that holds me accountable to these values? Why can't I just go ahead and say, I'm going to help people just because it's good for society to go out and help other people? Why do I need a religious motivation in order to be able to do that? Do you feel that most people don't have that empathy for their fellow man and that they need religion in order to have that empathy? That's my question.
Okay, great. So let's not be silly, okay? and chase a straw man argument because. For one, I don't need you to tell me what atheism is. I know full well what atheism is. Lack of a belief in a creator. Okay, I mean I don't need you to pretend in your mind. I don't know why you would even do so. Try to pretend that you need to tell me what atheism is. I mean that's foolish. We're sitting here talking about it. I address these issues all the time. So you think you need to tell me what atheism is? That's complete nonsense, absurdity. Okay, so first and foremost, but what we're talking about is a belief system, a worldview, right? Your worldview versus my worldview. My worldview tells me, based on the guidance of the Quran and the sayings of the Prophet in the Hadith, alhamdulillah, peace be upon him, tells mankind to, if we follow this path, that it's going to be better for us and the individual. So what we're talking about is a worldview that has a complete, comprehensive guide for mankind. Now, it's still mankind's choice whether or not they want to do those things, right? So we have, as Muslims, one of the 5 pillars of Islam is that it's our requirement to give in charity, right? But sometimes Muslims, may or may, I'm not saying most Muslims are going to give in charity because they know that's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. You're not a Muslim if you don't live by these precepts, right? But the reality is it's still a choice. Another example is going to prayer. That's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. That it's our obligation as Muslims. I always call it opportunity for us to go to prayer. And if we don't go to prayer, then we're not really living by the guidelines that we've been given. So it's always a person's choice. A person can choose to give in charity. A person can choose to go to prayer. A person can choose to stay away from alcohol. But what we're talking about is not the choices of an individual, but we're talking about atheism and Islam, if you remember. So we don't need to be chasing red herrings in the argument. What we're talking about, as I summarize, my 2 minutes just timed up, let's not chase red herrings, okay? Let's not try to divert and make this an issue about what an individual can do. What we're talking about is atheism, the atheistic worldview that has no answer for mankind, versus Islam that does have a complete and comprehensive answer for all the issues that mankind faces. Okay? So, alhamdulillah, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Well, you didn't answer my question. I had asked why I need a religious motivation in order to help other people. I have empathy to help my fellow man, as many other atheists do. So why do we need that extra bump of believing in a God and being held accountable in an eternal reward, where we do that just simply because it's the right thing to do? It's the right thing to do to help other people. We don't need to worry about someone looking over our shoulder and judging us on whether we're doing good or not, or being rewarded in heaven or whatever it is that you think you go after you die. We don't need to worry about that, and it's not something that factors into whether or not we help someone. So that, to me, seems like it would be more of a burden than anything. Go ahead.
More
more
of a burden. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. As to your question as to why, let me reset this timer because I want to make sure that. Okay. So, in your question as to why does someone need it? Well, once again, you're chasing the red herring argument. Okay. What you're trying to do is, let me go ahead and answer your question. Okay. So, why does a person need it? Ask yourself, in asking that question, you should be asking yourself, what's better for myself as an individual? Is it better that I try to help someone? And is it better to have a worldview that tells us that it's better to help someone? Because the reality is, let's face it, we live in a world where many people are homeless, many people are starving. With all the money that we have in this world, if more people were following the example of Islam in particular, then we wouldn't have these issues. Because Islam tells us that that we should never go to sleep if we know that our neighbor is hungry. Okay? And these are things that we're encouraged to be mindful of at all times. To constantly reflect on these things. But because we're human beings, because we do get caught up in things of the world, we do get distracted, We need the constant reminder. And that constant reminder, is it better for us to be reminded? Is it better for us if we're following a map for the GPS to say turn right here, turn left there? Well, obviously it is, because we're trying to follow a certain path. And sometimes we need to be motivated, and we need to be reminded that, hey, wait a minute, even though I'm getting full, even though I'm sleeping in comfort, I'm in the air conditioning, and I'm all those things, someone right now as we speak is not. And so with your atheistic worldview, it's all about me, me, me. You said it yourself. Why should I have to worry about that? Why should I be concerned with what someone else answering to someone else? Obviously, you think that way, and my time just went up. You think that way because you're an atheist. It's easier to have to live a life where you are void of any consequence in regards to the ultimate outcome. As I summarize, we live in a society where laws are implemented, and we have to follow these guidelines. And if we don't follow those guidelines, there's consequences for not following those guidelines. But what you're saying, based on your argument, if you put it all together, you're saying that you'd rather not have to follow an answer to anyone. You might as well be saying, I don't want to answer to the law. I don't want to follow these guidelines. I don't want to follow these rules. I just want to do what I want to. That's easier for me. That's basically what you just said. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
That's not what I said at all. I don't believe in answering to a fairy tale that I don't believe is true. I don't feel like I should have to worry about that I'm going to be judged after I die, because I'm more worried about being a good person, doing good now while I'm here in this reality and I'm alive. And I don't need the motivation of a gift after I die, of going to some place that's going to be eternal life. What reason do I have to worry about that when no one can prove that it's true? So I can instead concentrate on doing now for my fellow people. I can donate. I can donate money. I can donate food. I can donate my time, and I can do what I can do now to help people that are here. And I don't have to worry about a God that's going to be looking over my shoulder and telling me where I need to go. Now, as for the laws, I live in a society where our laws are not based on religious beliefs. That's our community coming together and voting and deciding what's best for us as a community. So yeah, of course I'm going to follow those laws. Of course I'm going to deal with the consequences if I break those laws. But that's because that's what our society has decided is good or bad for us. It's not because there's an eternal creator looking over our shoulder and feels that that's what's best for us. It's what we have decided what is best for us. And we don't need a God in that equation.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, great. So, once again, you made comments that are all about I, all about me, right? That you've said it yourself. Okay, so in regards to this fairy tale God, this y'all like to say, nevertheless, this whole fairy tale issue. What's interesting is that you talk about this fairy tale issue as though you don't believe that there's a creator, but you're constantly wanting to engage in conversation about something that you don't believe in, and that's psychologically. That's a bit peculiar. That's actually a psychological issue, right? Because you don't believe, people don't believe in unicorns, but they're not wanting to talk about unicorns all the time. They don't believe in spaghetti monsters, but they're not sitting around in groups and badgering people about spaghetti monsters. You don't talk about things that you don't believe in, okay? But the atheist does. And why do you do this? Because of that psychologically. Okay, so I'm not, once again, we're going back to the psychology of it, and you try to say that I was trying to tell you what to feel earlier. No, I know what you feel based on psychology. Psychology tells us that when someone is uncomfortable with something, they don't like the reminder of that thing. So whatever makes you uncomfortable, you don't like being reminded of that. It's not just you, it's people in general, all right? Something that makes you uneasy. What makes you uneasy? The thought of having to answer to someone for eternity, what I've done throughout eternity. Because why? Because it's all about I, all about me, based on your worldview, right? What do I do? What can I do to make me feel better? What kind of glory can I pat myself on the back if I choose to give in charity? Okay, and all those things. But as a Muslim in that regard, so the difference is that when we do it from an Islamic standpoint, we do those things and giving into charity and helping people in need and all those things in society for the sake of our Creator, because we know that the reality is that because we have a Creator, we didn't create ourselves. We don't choose the day that we're going to die. So inevitably, everything that we are capable of doing in this life has only come about because of something that we were given. The eyesight that you have, the hearing that you have, the ability to walk, and all the things that you do. You didn't make all those things happen for yourself, but yet it's all about I, all about me. Instead of paying back through efforts and deeds and being thankful for everything that you've been blessed with. So even as an atheist, you're receiving so many blessings that you're simply unthankful for. You see yourself as self-sufficient. You don't need a Creator. And so I'll summarize by saying, you said that we can't prove that a Creator exists. Actually, we can. But we can get into that discussion if you like to. But you can't prove that a Creator doesn't exist. So you really have no argument. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to start off by answering that I can't prove that a God exists. It's not my responsibility to prove that a God exists. It's the theist that has the burden of proof, because they are making the claim that a God does exist. So when you make a claim, you have to have the evidence in order to back it up. It's not my job to prove your claim incorrect. I simply don't believe you. That's all that is. So the burden of proof lies on a theist to prove that their God exists. And unfortunately for you, there is no objective, verifiable evidence that proves that your God or the Christian God or any other God exists. It just does not exist. There's been a lot of attempts to prove it, but we're still not there yet. Maybe it'll come eventually, but as of right now, there's not enough evidence, and therefore I don't believe. So I'm also going to address the whole psychological issue and why we want to talk about religion when we're an atheist. I can only explain to you why I want to talk about it. I can't speak for anybody else, but I personally engage in dialogue about religion. It's not so much Islam, because I don't have a lot of Islamic influence in my area. It's a heavily Christian area. Where I am now is a heavily Christian area. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because a lot of those Christian believers want to use their beliefs to change the laws that affect me on a daily basis. So I'm all for people having their own beliefs. That's great. That's fantastic. You have your right to have your belief, and I will fight for you to be able to have the right to believe what you believe. My problem is when other people, specifically theists, that feel that they have the right to enforce their beliefs in my life. So they want me to live my life based on their belief system, and I don't believe that's right. I don't believe anybody has the right to enforce their belief system and force somebody else to live life by somebody else's rules based on a God. I don't think that's right. So that's why I try and engage in that dialogue, because if you want to try and take rights and freedoms away from me based on your belief system, I'm going to fight back about that, just as I'm sure that you would if someone tried to do that to you. And that's why I talk about religion so much. And I also wanted to quickly address where you said that the being Muslim and being thankful and giving back, you don't need a religion to feel thankful for what you have in your life, and you don't need religion in order to be able to give back. So that's not something that's contingent on being religious.
Okay, you say that as your time expired. You say that because you see yourself as self-sufficient. You want to give yourself all the glory, but you sidestep the fact that I told you that and I'm telling you, and myself and every human being, you don't do anything without being blessed with the gifts that you've been given. That you didn't create your own eyesight, you didn't create your own ability to walk, you can't provide the oxygen that you breathe, okay? All those things are given to you, right? And so, therefore, you aren't self-sufficient, okay? So your desire to pat yourself on the back repeatedly and say, I do that just because I want to. Well, you probably don't, for one. Maybe you do. I doubt it. But nevertheless, I could be wrong about that. But nevertheless, it boils down to you wanting to take credit for things that you have no right to take credit for, because you can't get up in the morning if not by the will of the one who gave you the oxygen to breathe. Okay, so in saying that, you made a point that I wanted to address, and I then got sidetracked on it. But quite simply, let me ask you this question. You said that you live amongst Christians. You have very little interaction with Islam, so obviously you probably have no Muslim friends that you're aware of. Maybe you do, but so Islam. You made the comments that you don't like someone trying to impose their laws on you. Okay. Well, in Islam, let's clarify, for Muslims, we're required, as part of Sharia, for one. You've heard about Sharia law, I'm sure. Well, part of Sharia law is that we have to follow the laws of the land, as long as the laws of the land aren't telling us to commit sin. So just by example, if there was a law that said we have to consume alcohol, well, we wouldn't follow that because that's causing us to commit sin, right? So, but it's our obligation as Muslims to follow the laws of the land, right? There's consequences for not doing so in this life and in the hereafter, unless we seek forgiveness, alhamdulillah. So, but with that being said, I have to ask you the question, has any Muslims or group of Muslims ever tried to force you or anyone that you know to accept Islam, or to impose our beliefs on you? Did we do it in the previous group, in the discussion that you're a part of? Have I done it now? Or did I tell you, I really don't care what you believe. You don't have to believe anything that I say. Okay? The Quran tells us that we're only warners to the non-believers. Right? It's not our obligation. It says, as for those who disbelieve, it matters not, in the Quran, alhamdulillah, it says, as for those who disbelieve, it matters not if you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Okay? So it's not our obligation as Muslims to warn you. It is our obligation, it's not our obligation to make you believe anything. I don't care what you believe. Okay? No Muslim should care what you believe. And so I'd like for you to answer the question, has any Muslims or group of Muslims tried to impose anything upon you and try to change the way you think or the way you function, or try to impose upon you in any way? Has that ever happened? You have 2 minutes.
Not to my recollection, but that wasn't the point that I was trying to make when I answered that question.
So I just asked you a question based on your comments. You didn't answer that question before. What you did state is that you didn't like the Christians, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got to clarify this point. You say you don't like the Christians. You don't like the Christians trying to force their laws upon you. You said that specifically.
I didn't say laws. Okay. I didn't say laws.
No, actually, you did.
So,
actually, you did. That's why I wrote it down.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I did mention laws.
Yeah, you're right.
So
and you said you didn't like someone trying to impose their laws.
What I had
Hold
said?
on. You said you didn't like someone the Christians in particular, not trying to impose their laws or their beliefs on you. And so that's why I asked you, has any Muslims ever done that to you?
Let me clarify what I said.
I wrote down what you said.
So you had said you had questioned about why we engage in religious debate, why it's a topic that we bring up, and I explained why I brought it up, because I have an issue with.
Now you're chasing a red herring. We were just talking about one topic. Hold on. We were just talking about one topic about the laws being imposed upon you, and I asked you a question: has any Muslims ever done that? Now you're trying to change the topic. But go ahead. You go ahead.
Is it my turn? Do I get to speak now?
Yeah, but you're trying to change the topic, right?
I was trying to explain my answer.
Okay.
And you assumed that I was trying to change the topic.
Take your time.
All right. So you had asked the question about why we totally lost my train of thought there. You had asked the question about why we bring up religion. So that's how we got onto the topic in the first place, about Christians using their beliefs to change laws that affect other people's lives. So that's what I meant by laws, is that they use their belief system to try and influence the laws of the land. So they want to impose their beliefs. Right. So
you're not saying anything that I didn't just tell you.
I didn't mention anything about Muslims attempting to do that, and no, I am not aware of any Muslim trying to do that in my life. But that is the reason why I engage in religious discussion, is because that's the influence in my life. That's my motivation for engaging in religious debate. But no, to answer your question, a Muslim has not tried to do that to me personally.
Alhamdulillah. I already knew the answer to that. I didn't even require you to answer it. I already knew the answer to that. As a matter of fact, that's a question that I ask in my book, Alhamdulillah. The very same question. And the reason I asked that question is because all those people who antagonize the Muslims, who attack Islam through Islamophobia and all those things, I asked that question to make them ponder and reflect on the fact that really, in all reality, in your fears and your delusions, no Muslims have come to you and tried to enforce anything upon you. You have said that the Christians have done it. You've said it 2 or 3 times already. But no Muslims have done it. So obviously you think, and I agree, that we should be able to make our own choices and our own decisions, correct? You agree with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. As a Muslim, you're welcome to think anything that you want to. I have no bearing on what you think or what you do. Do you feel the same way about me?
That you have the right to believe what you believe? Absolutely.
Right. And I have the right to do and think anything that I want to, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I believe that about you. But when I posted my post in the group, you didn't seem to think that way. You see how this works?
In the hypocrisy.
No, in the hypocrisy of it all. Hold on. In the hypocrisy of it all. In the hypocrisy of it all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it into an atheistic worldview versus a Muslim worldview. As a Muslim,
you're making a personal attack.
Let me clarify.
I want to see proof of this.
No, let me clarify. As from a Muslim standpoint, if I see something that is distasteful to me, or something that I don't agree with, or whatever the case might be, or something I don't want to be a part of, I simply move past it. Okay, I don't stop and say things that are going to cause a conflict, right? Because I'm a Muslim and I try not to do those things, right? Okay, so you being an atheist, you don't have that guidance, and so when someone's minding their own business and they make a post, such as the ones we discussed during this conversation, where I posted in the group trying to do nothing more than to invite people to engage in conversations like this so that we can learn from one another, okay? You seem to have a problem, you and your cohorts seem to have a problem with me doing nothing more than minding my own business. But you yourself in your hypocrisy have stated that you think that people should be able to make their own decisions and have their own beliefs and be able to do what they want to. And I agree with that, but my actions demonstrate it, yours don't. Okay? So that's where the problem is. You want to talk about religion, but are even the Christians coming to you and trying to force you to accept Jesus? I doubt it. But, they could be. I don't know what people in your community are doing, but I just.
But you try and make assumptions and then say, okay. I don't know.
No, the thing is, if you can make the claim, but I don't trust you. I believe you're a liar, to be honest, and I don't trust you. So you can make a gazillion claims. I've heard you make many claims that are unsubstantiated. And if we go through that video, I'm going to eat you alive. You don't want to do that with me, I promise. Okay, so but in saying that, you seem to like to do a lot of talking, but you don't really have a lot of substance behind what you're saying. You've admitted in the course of this conversation that atheism is inferior to Islam because Islam has
I've never said it was inferior.
No. Well, inevitably you did. You said atheism does not have an answer for
that doesn't make
for
it
the
inferior.
problems of society. Hold on. You said atheism does not have an answer for the problems of society. Well, Islam does. That makes Islam superior. The worldview, the belief system is superior.
Okay, that's your
Plain and
opinion.
simple. No. Islam guides people repeatedly. The constant reminder to remember those that are less fortunate.
Atheists can do that without religion.
Well, sure you can, but do people do it? Okay, which is why I told you in the world. Hold on.
Actually, right in the state that you're in, there's
do people
an
do
atheist
it?
community that reaches out and helps people.
Okay, all right. I'm not saying there's no atheists that don't reach out and help people. But once
Absolutely.
again, then it falls on who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for self-glory? You're doing it because you want to feel better, you want a pat on the back, you want to be recognized, or are you doing it for the sake of the one who created you? Obviously, you don't believe in a creator.
Well, how is that any different,
Hold on.
though?
You don't believe in a creator,
We
therefore
want to be patted on the back for ourselves.
okay,
You want to be patted on
hold
the
on.
back by your
Let
imaginary
me
friend.
just summarize my statement right here. Obviously, you don't believe in a creator, therefore you have become your own God and your own self-induced sense of self-sufficiency that you actually don't have. In
and if
all
I'm a
reality,
good person
you're
and I
not
help other
self-sufficient.
people, what does that matter?
Hold on. I'm going to summarize in 10 seconds. You're not self-sufficient, but you think that you are. So therefore, when you do something that you think is good, you want to be patted on the back, you want to be recognized. As a Muslim, we're taught to do everything for the sake of our Creator, for the sake of the Day of Judgment. Okay, then we'll be recompensed for everything that we've ever done in this life. That's what we do, alhamdulillah. So it's not about self-glory. It's simply by trying to please the one who created us, being thankful for the blessings that we receive, and to live in the obedience of someone or something that's greater than we are. Alhamdulillah. Go ahead.
Well, you keep saying that we want to do it because we want to pat ourselves on the back.
Sure
But
you
you're
do.
doing it because you want to be patted on the back by some imaginary creator that you can't evidence is actually real. So how is that any different? What the bottom line boils down to is, are you helping your fellow man? Are you motivated to go out there and help people because it's the right thing to do? If I'm a good person in this life and I help others and I love others, then what does it matter? Why do I need that extra God to be, oh, I need to please God, I need to be thankful to God? I don't need to be thankful to God to be a good person. I can help people and I can do all that without any religion. And again, just because atheism doesn't have an answer, in your opinion, doesn't make it inferior, because again, it's the answer to one question and that's it. So you're again applying more attributes to atheism than there actually are, which shows that you misunderstand actually what atheism is, which is why I tried to, back in the beginning, explain to you what atheism is, but you keep showing me that you don't really understand what it is.
Listen,
Go ahead.
I don't know if you realize how absurdly, just ridiculous you saying that is. Atheism, I know full well what atheism is. You believe in no creator, you believe in no God, but I did notice that you said, why do you need an extra God? So you proved my point, alhamdulillah. You see yourself as self-sufficient. You see yourself as your own God. So you said, why do I need an extra God? Okay? Well, you're proving my point every step of the way.
Wording.
No. You said, why do I need an extra God? Right? Why do I need an extra God? So who would the extra God be? Who in your mind, who's the original God? Well, obviously because you see yourself as self-sufficient, you think that you're your own God, right? So alhamdulillah.
What's wrong with that?
You know,
what's the problem with that?
That you're your own God?
Sure. If I'm a good person and I go out and I help you,
let's find out if you're your own God. Okay, so let's analyze that for a minute. I'm going to stop my time because you asked me a question. This is a very serious question. Thank you for asking. So let's analyze this. Okay, are you saying that you're your own God?
No, I'm not, because
Okay,
I just misspoke. But I don't believe in God, so I
now
wouldn't
you're
see
backtracking.
myself as a God.
Now you're backtracking. So let's get to the root of the issue. Mindy, did you create yourself?
No, my parents did.
Okay, your parents did. Okay, were you? We're not talking about your parents. What we're talking about is, did you create yourself? Okay. Did you choose who your parents would be? Did you choose what race that you would be, how tall you would be, what you would look like, what nationality you would be a part of, what race you would be part of? Did you make any of those decisions for yourself?
Those are a result of natural phenomenon. So no,
natural phenomenon. Okay, so great. Alhamdulillah, you can call it natural phenomenon. I'm going to call it by the will of our Creator. But along those lines, do you know what day that you're going to die? And on that day that you're going to die, can you stop that from transpiring? Do you know the day? Can you stop it from transpiring?
Obviously, no.
Obviously, no.
No one
But
does.
obviously, hold on. So now let's go to the parents that you said created you. Can your parents stop you from dying on that day? And did your parents have a choice in the matter on what day that you would be born, what gender that you would be a part of, what color your hair would be, what color your eyes would be, how tall you would be, how attractive or unattractive you would be? All those things. Did your parents have a choice in that matter?
Again, all natural phenomenon. No,
Well,
no choice.
natural phenomenon. So obviously, by saying that, you're admitting, by saying it's a natural phenomenon, you're admitting that you're not your own God, okay? And you're also admitting that your parents aren't your God, right?
No, I never made that claim.
Okay, well, no, I didn't say you made that claim, but inevitably, you're by saying it's a natural phenomenon, you're saying that you're not your God, and you're saying that your parents are not your God, okay? So obviously, your sense of self-sufficiency has no platform to stand upon. You're not self-sufficient.
Why do I need a God? Why does
Why do you
anyone
need a
need a
God?
God?
Well,
Whether it be myself or be
let's
another one.
analyze that as well. So the oxygen that you breathe, do you produce that oxygen that you breathe? No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't. Okay.
What
No,
does that have to do with needing a God?
okay. Well, it's that God that created that oxygen. So along that line,
Well, you'd have to prove.
if you don't believe
You made a
if you
claim
don't believe
there,
the
and you
Creator
need to
exists.
evidence it.
Hold on,
There is no evidence that
we're
the
going to
God
narrow that
created
down.
that oxygen,
We're going to
so
get
you
to
would
the
have
point.
to prove that.
It's a process, okay? Well, it's a process because I'm going to get you to expose yourself throughout the course of the process. And this is why
Okay.
I prefer to engage in this type of format, this platform, versus going back and forth through text. Now, do you get the point? Okay, so in saying that, okay, so we've narrowed down the fact that you're not your own God, your parents aren't your God, you don't create the oxygen that you breathe, right? You agree with those things?
I personally did not create them, and my parents did not. No.
Right, so you're not self-sufficient.
I don't know where I made the claim where I said I was
I didn't say you
self-sufficient.
made
You
the
can put
claim,
that
but
claim
do
on
we
me.
agree? Do you agree with me that you're not self-sufficient?
In the definition of what is
Okay, what just in
self-sufficient.
the definition of oxygen, can you provide your own oxygen?
No.
No, you can't, right? So you're not self-sufficient just in that one area, right? You're simply not, okay? So I had a point that I wanted to make, but alhamdulillah, I'll let you speak. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you were explaining something to me, so go on. You can explain it.
Well, just quite simply, you have contradicted yourself repeatedly in the course of every interaction that we've had, to be honest.
Okay.
And I find it disgusting on one hand, and I find it amusing on another, because you want credit for things that you actually haven't done. Okay,
When did I ever say I wanted credit for something?
Let me prove a point. So let me prove a point.
When did I
You
make
said
the claim
you,
that
you've
I want
asked
credit?
the question. Hold on. You've asked the question. Why do I need a God to answer to for giving in charity?
I just asked, why do I need a God? Just in general, what do I need
Okay,
a
that's
God
fine.
for?
But in regards to giving in charity, right? Doing good deeds to help the homeless. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just this past week, I produced proof of the fact that I've actually gone out and done that. Right? You've seen the proof, and I posted it not for attention, but posted it to prove you wrong. Okay. And so you have made claims that you haven't substantiated. Right? So
What claim?
atheism has no answer for world problems. You're not your own God. Your parents aren't your own God. You can't produce the oxygen that you breathe. You said that you've given to charity, but in fact you haven't produced any proof of that. So really, it makes everything that you're saying null and void. You have no ground to stand upon. You made claim after claim.
I'm not going to put my financial information
No, I didn't
online
ask you for
in order to prove
that's
to
a
you
straw
that I
man.
donate
I
to
didn't ask you
charity.
for financial information. I haven't given
Well,
you my financial
that's what I would
information.
need in order
Hold
to
on.
prove that I
Hold on, that's a
donated.
straw man. That's a straw man argument. I haven't asked you for your financial information, nor
You
have
asked
I
me for
given you my
proof.
financial information.
You asked for proof.
No,
So
no,
how
no,
else would I
no. What
prove
I
that I've
asked,
donated
no, no.
to
What I
charity?
stated was, in this past week, you've seen me out feeding the homeless, right? and I posted those pictures to prove a point to you and other people in that group. So that has nothing to do with my finances or anything like that. But what I'm bringing this up about is because, once again, we're talking about atheism and Islam. Atheism, as an atheist, you're making claims that you can't substantiate. As a Muslim, As a Muslim, I'm making claims that I can and have substantiated. I've talked about the importance of giving into charity, and in this past week, you yourself have seen multiple pictures of me doing just that. Okay. You see where
what
we're
claims
going
have
here.
I not what claims have I not substantiated?
Okay, well, you said that, implying that, why do I need a God to be able to give into charity? Can a person just give into charity? All those things, as if you do give into charity. And I doubt actually that you do, to be honest. I really doubt it.
So how would you like me to prove
nevertheless,
that without providing How would you like
hold
me to prove that without providing financial information?
I don't need you to provide financial information, okay?
No, you're not answering my question.
The fact of the matter is,
how else can I
hold on,
prove it to you?
that's an easy escape route. I haven't provided
How
you.
else can I prove
hold
it
on,
to you?
I haven't provided you financial information, but I have indeed proven to you that as a Muslim, I'm guided to help people in society, and in fact, I do it. Okay, it doesn't require me to produce my financial statement.
You're asking me to prove it. You're accusing me of not substantiating
Yes, I
my
am.
claims. And
Yes, I am.
I'm asking you
Yes, I
how
am.
would you like me to substantiate those claims?
Yes, I am. I'm telling you that I don't believe you. And
That's fine. How would you like me to
substantiated
substantiate my claims?
Huh?
How would you like me to substantiate my claims?
Well, you tell me that. I'm not going to put any stipulations on you. You said that you should be able to make your own choices and all those things. So prove your claims. I don't think you can. I know you can't, as a matter of fact. I know you can't.
I explained to you that I can't do that without exposing my own financial information,
Okay,
which is not a safe thing to do on the internet. So
okay.
How else would you like me to prove it?
For one, charity isn't just your money, right? It's also your time and your services. Okay, so what you're agreeing with me on is that, for one, I didn't ask you for your financial statements, but you're also agreeing that you can't provide any proof that, as an atheist, you've done any good for anyone in society. You just simply can't. I can. I've organized, alhamdulillah, I do it. Any good that I do, it's all from Allah. Because like I told you, I can't do anything without Allah. As a matter of fact, you go to my website, what does it say? Without Allah, or my Creator, I am nothing. Without Allah, I am no one. So that's how I view my life, and I do everything for the sake of my Creator. If I make mistakes along the way, then if I make mistakes along the way, that's my responsibility. But all the good that comes from me comes from my Creator, because I do it for the sake and the remembrance of my Creator. So in saying that, I have demonstrated in this past week that as a Muslim, my worldview tells me to give of my time, give of my effort, give of my finances, although I haven't produced my financial statements for you. I'm not requiring that of you, and I
didn't say that
made
you
that
did.
request, and I haven't provided that for you. But in fact, you have. Do you agree? Do you agree that you have seen me as a Muslim in the photos that I produced in order to counter your claims against me, trying to undermine me? You have seen me in this past week. In this past week, as a Muslim, you've seen me on the streets in those photos, giving to the homeless in the streets of Houston. Have you seen that?
I never made the claim that you weren't doing that.
Okay, so that's not what I asked you, but you're admitting that you've seen that, right?
I saw the pictures, but again, I never made a claim that you weren't
great.
helping.
As a Muslim, I'm telling you about a worldview that guides me to do what's best. And once again, charity isn't only your finances, it's also your time and your services, right? Okay,
but you realize that we're under a worldwide pandemic right now, so it's not like I can go out and...
That's fine. That's a good excuse.
Right now.
That's a good excuse. It's actually what's halted me in the last few days from doing the same thing. Because, let me tell you why. Because as a Muslim, my desire, I want to go and help the homeless, but I'm doing a better good by following the stipulations that were the mandates of the people who have authority over us. As a matter of fact, The Quran tells us to follow Allah, follow the messenger of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his guidance, and follow those who have authority over you. And those who have authority over us are government officials. As long as they're not trying to force us to do some kind of sin, then it's our obligation to follow their requirements and their guidance and all those things. So as a Muslim, I had to step back and say, okay, let me see what's best for society collectively, and what's best is that we have to stop this for a minute. There's actually still some Muslims out doing that, and I've been on both sides of the fence regarding that, because my inclination is I want to go out there and help feed those people, but I think the better good is, as a Muslim, to make the decision to say, no, wait a minute, if we have the potential to spread this disease, then the best thing to do is not do it. Follow the guidelines. Although we did have a permit to do this, I still think that it's it's questionable, because this virus is very, very serious. So, nevertheless, what we've, in summary, or not in summary, but what the points that we made thus far is, you've admitted that atheism doesn't have a guidance for mankind or for society to address these topics. Islam does. You have made claims that persons should be able to give in charity and all these things. But in fact, you can't produce any proof that you've done so as an atheist. You've also said that Christians have tried to force their beliefs on you, and you don't think that you should have to follow the beliefs or the laws of other people. As a Muslim, I'm telling you that even though these are majority Christians that are implementing these laws, as a Muslim, I have to follow these laws, because that's the part of being a Muslim, is to follow the laws of the land. Alhamdulillah. So, do you have anything anything of substance to present?
I think I already have. Like I said, I've asked
really?
questions that you
okay, so what points go ahead, I'll let you talk. What points have you presented that outweigh the points that I presented?
That all of the things that you described that you can do as a Muslim, you can do without a God.
I can do without a God.
I don't need a God in order to do those things.
But it's a choice, right? You agree?
A choice in what?
It's a choice whether or not I want to follow what our Creator in the Quran has guided us to do. It's a choice. I'm not forced to do it, right? It's a choice.
Just like I have the same choice to whether to do something or not do something
right.
for the better of our people.
So that's established. And so no one's forcing me to do it. So that
doesn't make one better than the other then.
Okay, but no one's forcing me to do it. But
no one's forcing me to do
what's better than the other is that you've admitted that atheism doesn't have a system in place that will tell people that it's best for us to give to charity, and it's best for us to stay away from alcohol. Hold on. And stay away from alcohol and drugs and fornication and adultery and robbery and thievery and violence against people and to kill people unjustly and all those things. Atheism doesn't have an answer for those issues.
It doesn't
Islam
need an
does.
answer.
Hold on.
It doesn't need an answer for it.
What?
You seem to think that atheism needs an answer for something when it does not. You do not need a religious belief system.
No, I don't think that atheism needs an answer.
In order to be a good person and follow a... Sorry, what's that?
I don't think atheism needs an answer. I know atheism needs an answer, and that answer is Islam. Okay.
Why does it need an answer?
Why does it need an answer? Because we have homelessness in the world. We have people dying of hunger. We have poverty. We have people dying from drunk driving. We have domestic violence. We have people committing murders. All of those things. And as Muslims,
that brings up a really, really great point, actually, that I wanted to bring up. Actually, about you in particular, when it comes to domestic violence.
Oh, alhamdulillah. So now we're going to resort to. Hold on.
No,
I have no problem with this.
This is perfect.
I have no problem. Hold on. I have no problem with this whatsoever. But let's make it known. Let's make it known. Now what's happening is in the debate world. Now what you're doing is resorting to ad hominem. Do you know what that is? Look it up.
I do know what it is.
You know what ad hominem is? Now instead of addressing the point, hold on. Now instead of addressing the points, now you want to attack the individual because you know that your argument. Hold on, because you know your argument has no weight. Because your argument has no weight.
I simply want to ask you a question.
Hold on. I'm going to answer your question. No problem. No problem at all. I promise you. So But instead of you addressing the points that we're talking about in this discussion about atheism and Islam, now you want to try to undermine me by attacking me.
I don't want to undermine you at all. I just want to address your point.
In the debate world, that's a sure sign of defeat. Alhamdulillah.
This is not a formal debate, and we're just having a discussion.
No, it's not. But we're still debating back and forth. Obviously, we're still in contention. We're still arguing. We're still debating, right? So let's not play pretend. Let's not play pretend. But what now you're trying to do? What now you're trying to do? And actually, you're giving me an avenue. Hold on, you're providing me an avenue to address this via video. Alhamdulillah, thank you, because I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. Okay,
I didn't say you did.
I don't have nothing. I have nothing to hide. So you and your atheist cohorts, you can go and look at my background and post all these screenshots of all these various charges of which I wasn't convicted, alhamdulillah, because I'm not a convicted felon. I have never been to prison. I was married for 22 years. Caught I'm conflicted about talking about the issue, because as a Muslim, I don't want to talk about someone else's shortcomings. And so I would just say that some things transpired that were out of my control that I didn't bring about, and some false charges were made, of which that I wasn't convicted. Okay, so I've never been to prison. I'm not a convicted felon. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank you. So look. Post all the charges you want to. Go and create all the videos you want to. You can't stop the truth. The truth is the truth, even if no one believes it. A lie is a lie, even if everyone believes it. Spread all the lies that you want to. Spread all the lies that you want to. Get cherry-pick things if you'd like to in your effort to try to undermine me. But you will never win. You know why?
And now you're not even letting me get a word in.
Okay, sure. I'm going to let you speak in a second, but I'll summarize with this last statement. You know why you will never win? Because unlike you, we have a creator that is all-knowing. The Quran says he's aware of all that we reveal and all that we conceal. He's closer to us than our own jugular vein. So therefore, if I'm saying anything that's incorrect, then I have to answer to my creator for any deception if I was being deceptive. But in fact, I'm not being deceptive, have nothing to hide, and I'm confident on the fact because my creator, the one who created me, knows the truth of the matter. So go ahead.
That was quite, you went on the defensive real quickly. But I mean, you already asked my question. All I wanted to do was ask you about the situation, since you used domestic violence as an example, and you had been charged with it. And if you weren't convicted, that's fine. I could not find whether or not you were convicted.
You see how that works?
That was just the question that I had.
Hold on. Do you see how truth is made clear from falsehood? You see how that works? So this is what Allah says in the Quran. It says that man plans. Hold on. It says that man plans and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So your intentions to try to undermine me have backfired.
No, that wasn't my
Allah says in the Quran, for those who disbelieve, who return their mockery upon them. So those who mock, He returns their mockery upon them. Okay, so you've done nothing but provide me an avenue to clarify all these things and to prove that you really have no strong argument in any topic that we've discussed.
Trying to argue. I just wanted to bring up the topic to have.
Right, you wanted to bring up the topic as a form of ad hominem because you had no answer for the other topic that we were talking about.
You brought up the topic of domestic violence.
Right.
So that's why I went there.
Right. So do you think that I would bring up the topic of domestic violence if I have something to hide? Do you think that I mean, honestly, think about this. Do you think that I would bring up the very thing that you want to use against me? Hold on. No. Do you think that I would bring up the very thing that I know for sure that you want to use against me? Do you think that I would be bringing that up if I wasn't, free of any guilt behind it? If I wasn't guilty of it? Alhamdulillah. You see how this works? So you're getting a lesson today. See, when you're disrespectful to people, out of the blue, you can laugh all you want to, but you're getting a lesson today. You're going to ponder on it later if you have any decency about you whatsoever. Because when you pick a fight with someone out of the blue, like I addressed,
I thought we were having a discussion.
Hold on. I'm going to summarize and I'll let you speak. Just give me 15 seconds. When you pick a fight with someone for doing nothing more than going to a Facebook group, a public group that you admit is public group, and you say that you think that people should be able to think and do what they want to, when I make a post that has no bearing on your life and you come to antagonize me, inevitably it's going to backfire on you because you're the one looking to address something with an ill intent. Right? You've done it to yourself. And so my response to you is I'm dealing with you as based on the type of character that you've presented to me. You can talk calm. You can try to present yourself as this little white lady that is just an innocent.
I like how you keep bringing up the fact that I'm a white lady and bringing race into it. And that was never brought up ever.
For Muslims, and they wouldn't let you talk. But you've interrupted me just as much as I've interrupted you in this very conversation. But go ahead.
Why do you keep bringing up the topic of race?
Well, because you're white and you're a woman and you were looking for sympathy, and
I never
I'm a
once.
Muslim.
I never. I never.
Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question. Obviously, I'm white as well, right? I mentioned race because I asked you, was you able to choose what race you would be, your gender, what color your hair would be, and all those things. So I mentioned race then, right?
But you're trying to imply that I'm using my race to garner sympathy when I never brought up my race.
I'm saying absolutely, yes, I am saying that. I'm saying that you, as an innocent white atheist woman, was bullied.
When did I ever say that I was an innocent white woman?
Was disrespected so brutally by 4 big bad Muslim guys that wouldn't let you speak. But if we go to that video, if you want me to bring the video up and screen share right now, I'll show you that at the end of that conversation, how you repeatedly interrupted me, just like you've done here, where I'm just simply trying to complete my thought.
I'm not denying that.
And then hold on, I try to complete like you just did it again. I try to complete my thought, and then I say, go ahead.
So I would like to know where I've mentioned my race to garner sympathy in anything that I've said.
That's a red herring. I didn't say that you. That's a straw man argument.
You absolutely did.
That's a straw man. I didn't say that you mentioned your race.
You absolutely did. I
didn't. Oh no. That's a straw man argument. So I didn't say that you mentioned your race. I mentioned your race. I said that you were looking for sympathy. I said it. I didn't say that you said it.
That's totally on you. Okay.
Absolutely, totally on me. So let's clarify. You agree that I didn't say that you said it because I didn't.
That's why I wanted to clarify.
Okay, so right. So once again, you're making false claims. You need to strive harder to listen instead of just bumping.
That's why I tried to. That's why I tried to clarify by asking the question.
Okay, so let's clarify this. I didn't say that you brought up race. I brought up race. I said that you, as a liar and a deceiver, and someone looking for sympathy as a so-called innocent white woman atheist that was bullied by 4 Muslims that wouldn't let her speak and just kept disrespecting her and tried to make her change her worldview and all those things. Well, no, none of that happened, right?
I never made that claim either.
We engaged in a conversation, most of which was very pleasant, very peaceful, very calm, and then it got a little heated like it's done now, right? And so when it gets a little heated, people talk over one another. Sometimes the Muslim brothers in the room, they talk over one another. They're not being disrespectful to one another. They're just simply trying to make their point. And so no one disrespected you in that video. You're a liar and a deceiver if you've tried to make people believe that we have. Plain and simple, you're a liar and a deceiver, and you have tried to make people think that we were disrespectful to you. No, we weren't. We were simply engaged in a conversation. We were simply engaged in a conversation in platforms like this. Go to platform after platform after platform, and you're going to find, listen to debate after debate after debate, and you're going to find that much of the time, people try to talk over one another. So what do? Just like last night, for about 3 hours, I'm the moderator. I'm making sure that all the Muslims have 2 minutes to speak, all the Christians have 2 minutes to speak, trying to give everyone their time to speak, right? There's times when it's difficult because people are trying to make their points and they begin to talk over one another. But no one's disrespecting one another. It's just part of the engagement, okay? So you should retract that nonsense that you put up and say, no, it's just part of the dialogue. It's part of the conversation. That's the truth of the matter. No one said anything derogatory to you. The most derogatory thing was, I think you're simply unreasonable. You're being unreasonable at this point, and I gave you the benefit of the doubt by saying, I don't know if you're sleepy right now, but you're being unreasonable. Okay?
And
I
felt
still stand by that. I think you're a very unreasonable person. I think you're a very deceptive person. Let's make that clear. But, you know, you've proven that yourself. Go ahead.
It wasn't just being talked over that made me feel disrespected, and I outlined that in my video actually.
Okay,
very
what else
clearly.
was it then?
So the fact that you said that, oh, I don't know if maybe you need to go to sleep. I felt very disrespected by that comment because it was very condescending.
Lady, let me ask you something. You know what time of the morning it was? You know what time of night it was? It was like, I don't know, what, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning? Maybe later than that. Okay? So I sense that you were being unreasonable. So what you've done, you've created a video acting like you were mistreated in some way for someone telling you that I think you're simply being unreasonable. People tell people they're being unreasonable all the time. Does that mean that you're being disrespected?
That wasn't the only reason someone why
did
I felt
you? Hold on. Does me saying that, does that make you a victim of some injustice? That's foolish.
Say that it did.
No, you did. No, hold on. See, that's the problem right there. No, actually, you did. Okay, so you went back to the room and you tried to make and present the discussion of 3.5, 4 hours as though you were bullied upon, bullied by us the whole time, disrespected by us. Well, no, that's not what happened at all. People can watch the full video.
I was very clear in my explanation about why I felt disrespected.
Right, which is why I told you. Right, which is why I told you that if we go to that very same video, I'm going to prove to you. And if you want to go to that video, I'll screen share it right now. We'll listen to the whole video, and I will prove to you that in your own absurdity, in your own hypocrisy, you actually contradicted yourself in the very video that you made, trying to make the points. Yes, you did say that. No, I wasn't disrespected the whole time, but I felt
There were points where I did feel disrespected.
You felt disrespected. And that's
what I said.
Right.
And I gave examples of where I felt disrespected.
Okay, you've mentioned one by me saying that I think you're being unreasonable at this point. Why? Because you hold on. Why were you being unreasonable? Because you were interrupting
more to it than that.
Why was you being unreasonable? Because you were interrupting me and you could not wrap your mind around the point that was being made. It was in the wee hours of the morning, 1:30, 2 a.m., 2:30, maybe even 3 a.m. It was late, right? And so people get tired and people aren't thinking clearly and they get aggravated and sometimes they're unreasonable. Am I unreasonable sometimes? Sure, I'm unreasonable sometimes. Have no qualms about that. Why? Because I'm a human being. Are you trying to imply that me stating that you being unreasonable is unjust? That you're a person that never has the quality of being unreasonable?
No, I didn't say that at all.
Okay, great.
But that was not the only factor that made me. There was. That was not the only thing that made me feel.
You proved another one of my points. You proved another one of my points. So thank you. So what it boils down to, Mindy, is that you have brought this antagonism to me. I repeat, I've never gone to any of your posts and antagonized anything that you've said in any group, your personal space. I don't care what you do. And I, would only assume that, and question, why would you care what I'm doing? What does it matter to you? Okay? How is it affecting? How is what I'm doing affecting you? It's not, right? Nor is you making posts and trying to say that this atheist guy that I had a debate about embryology in the Quran was laughable and all those things. When in reality, there's no embryology in the Quran.
It was very entertaining.
No, there's no. Well, the thing is, he was exposed in the process. There's no embryo. See, you don't know the full context of the whole statement. Once again, he cherry-picked just like you did. Alhamdulillah, it's a common tactic from you guys. As a Muslim, I have to produce the full argument, otherwise I'm being deceptive. That guy, let's go ahead and clarify so we'll get this point out of the way right quick. That guy wanted to argue and debate the topic of embryology in the Quran. I told him 5 weeks ahead of time, there's no embryology in the Quran. The Quran is not a book of science. It's a book of signs. I said, so will talk about human development in the Quran. And so that was my argument. I told him you can debate on the topic of human development in the Quran from whatever standpoint you want to come from. I know what I'm going to talk about because I know the full context of what these verses are telling us about complete human development in the Quran. And some of it does refer to our development in the womb, and Allah tells us that how dare we be arrogant, and this is for the atheists in particular, how dare you be arrogant when you were created from nothing more than a single drop of an ejected fluid. Okay?
That's not how it works.
Well,
and that's what he was trying to get through to you.
Listen, you don't want to go there with me. Okay, you just simply don't.
Well, I know, because you've proven time and time again that you don't really understand how pregnancy works.
I don't know. Okay, that's another thing. So in the video, in your absurdity, in your hypocrisy, I told you that the Quran talks about it is we who created you in stages, in 3 layers of darkness. Okay? Okay, so in regards to the stages, okay, do you agree that the trimesters are stages of development?
Not the stages of development that you tried to example.
That's listen. You don't know what I was trying to explain because you kept interrupting me just like you just did now. So I ask you a clear statement. Do you agree that the trimesters for the embryo, for the infant, for the trimesters are stages of development in the womb?
They're time periods of a pregnancy, yes, not specific stages.
Okay, no, that's the absurdity in that kind of comment. Absurdity. Think about what you're saying, and this is why in the other conversation you mentioned people pausing, and at one point I'm pausing, I'm thinking, to be honest, I'm thinking, how dumb can this lady be? And I'm being honest now. At the time, I was trying to be decent with you. In my mind, I'm thinking, how dumb can this lady be? How can you not write? Hold on. Listen, I'm just being honest with you.
I mean, you're saying I'm being honest. I'm going to insult you, but I'm
being well. Listen, when you repeat something that's so absurd like that. Listen, I just ask you, do you agree that the trimesters are stages of development? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree that in the womb that there's periods of certain stages of development?
I agree that there is certain stages of development, but I do not believe that they coincide with the specific trimesters as we view them today, because so much development.
What are you talking about? Hold on. You're on another planet. You're on a complete other planet. I'm asking you quite simply. We're talking about the science. We're not talking about the Quran. We're not talking about anything about the Quran right now. I'm asking you, do you agree with me and science that the trimesters represent stages of development in the womb?
Are you trying to say specific stages of development?
I didn't say anything about specific stages of development. Obviously, semen is ejected into the womb. Then the embryo begins to form, and it grows in stages. So a period of weeks, this happens. Another period of weeks, this happens. Another period of weeks, this happens. Months in most instances. So a period of months, weeks, months, weeks, months, weeks. 3 trimesters. Do you agree that the embryo, starting from a single fluid ejected, which would be the seminal fluid, right? So starting from the seminal fluid, there's a period of progression and growth in the womb in stages. Do you agree with this? Which is why the trimesters are referred to as trimesters. Do you agree with that?
Well, they're trimesters by specific fetal. They're specific fetal development. So
right.
Yes.
So you agree? So you agree with me?
For certain developments, yes.
Okay. So right. So you agree. Thank you for agreeing. Thank you for humbling yourself. Reluctantly, you agree that in the womb, these 3 trimesters, right? These 3 trimesters are stages of the development for the embryo, quite clearly. Plain and simple, that's the science, that's how it is. Okay, so the Quran, alhamdulillah, mentions 1450 years ago that it is we, that's a royal decree saying Allah, our creator, it is we who created you in stages, in 3 layers of darkness. So those three stages, okay, it doesn't say 3 stages. Let's clarify that. It doesn't say 3 stages, but I'm saying those 3 trimesters, let's clarify. Those 3 trimesters were discussed in the Quran 1450 years ago when Allah says, we created you in stages, in 3 layers of darkness. Okay? So those 3 stages, long before the science could verify and lay out the formula of the trimester, the Quran is already telling us, right? When no modern science, no microscopes, none of this existed, the Quran is already telling us that the human being is created in the womb in stages. It takes a certain period of time for this.
Just in stages, yes.
Right. For this to happen, So in that way, the Quran is not contradicting science. Do you agree?
It's just a very vague statement.
That's fine. Once again, just like I told the guy in the debate about he wanted to debate embryology, I told him there's no embryology. It's not a book of science. And I'm telling you, it's not a book of science. It's not supposed to go into the details on the matter because it's not a book of science. The verses of the Quran in the Arabic language are referred to as ayah, and that means signs. The Quran says, we shall show them our signs in the universe and within themselves until they know that this Quran is from their Lord. This truth is from their Lord. So
okay, but it's unremarkable information.
Hey, listen. If you want to look at it that way, you're an atheist. I don't expect you to think any different. You can think as you want to. I don't care about that. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, the point that I'm trying to prove is that the Quran is not contradicting science. Okay, the Quran says that we created you in stages. And you've admitted that the trimesters are stages of development, and the Quran reveals this all that time ago. Okay, modern science confirmed this. Now, the second part of that verse says that we created you. It says we created you in stages, in 3 layers of darkness. Okay, so you try to ridicule Brother Mustafa, peace be upon.
Yes, because of what he said and how he tried to explain the 3 veils of darkness, about how when you cut into the woman, they disappear, and that you can only see them under a microscope, which is completely false information.
Listen, you're taking what the brother said completely out of context. You're talking about something.
How can I take that
you're
out
talking
of
about
context?
something. Now you're being vague. Okay. Now you're simply taking everything he stated out of context. Okay.
I took him at his word. So you're saying that he's lying?
No, I'm not saying he's lying at all. I'm saying that you're taking what he said out of context. I didn't say he's lying.
What context did he mean then?
I said that you have taken what he stated out of context. Okay? So let me explain. Now remember, this is revealed 1450 years ago when there's no science, there's no microscopes, there's no C-section. They didn't cut people open and sew them back up.
You don't have proof of that. You don't have proof of that.
And do you have proof that people were performing C-sections? Do you have proof?
I didn't say that there was proof.
Let's analyze. I don't have proof of what? I don't have proof of what? There was no microscopes then. Do you agree?
I just brought up the fact that it was a possibility. I didn't say whether there is or is not.
Let's go
point by point.
Let's go point by point because you're getting buried in this whole issue. Okay, so point by point. Do you agree that in the 7th century there were no microscopes?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, not to your knowledge. I'm telling you quite plainly and clearly, no, there were no microscopes. A microscope is
I know what a microscope is.
Much later invention.
You can explain his context.
Huh?
I said I'm waiting for you to explain what context.
But let's clarify. So, because part of his context was based on, he was saying that a man in the desert 1,400 years ago who didn't have access to a microscope, and these procedures such as the C-section, you're trying to imply that someone would cut a baby out of a woman. Well,
what does that have to do with a microscope?
Huh?
So what does that have to do with a microscope?
Okay, quite simply because we're talking about the 3 layers of darkness. Allah says we created you in 3 layers of darkness. the amniotic
Okay,
sac,
so what
the amniotic sac, the uterine wall, and the
abdominal wall?
Abdominal wall. So do you agree? Do you agree that when the baby is in the womb, that there's one layer, the abdominal wall, the embryonic sac, and what was the other one that we just mentioned?
There was the amniotic sac, there was the uterine wall, and there's the abdominal wall.
Okay, so right, and the baby is protected by each of those layers. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You totally agree, right? Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
So you see how this works? So the Quran says,
I'm still waiting for you to explain where the microscope is required for this.
Okay, well, quite simply, hold on. You see what you see. You in your strong desire to try to prove that a God doesn't exist.
I'm simply asking you a question.
I'm answering you I'm answering the question, and your passionate and eager desire to try to prove that a God doesn't exist, you're not listening. Okay, the Quran says 1400 years ago. Wrap your mind around this. Is in the 7th century. No modern science. This is a desert region where no hospitals, no C-sections were being performed. Look it up. C-sections didn't come about till well later than that. Alhamdulillah. So in a desert region where they were uneducated people, they had no resources. They didn't have hospitals. Okay, no microscopes, no modern technology. The Quran is telling people, and it's telling people for a few reasons. For one, Allah says, we'll show them our signs within the universe.
You're going off topic and not answering the question.
I am answering you the question. You're proving what I said earlier.
You're saying a lot of stuff that's not applying to.
You're not listening, lady. You're not listening. Once again, hold on. Once again, this is the same. Hold on. This is the same thing we were talking about when I told you that you're being unreasonable. You're being unreasonable because instead of you staying quiet, just for a brief moment, and listening, you're interrupting. You're not. If you're interrupting, you're not listening. If you're talking, you can't be listening. Okay? So be patient and listen. I'm telling you that in the 7th century, look it up if you need to. You don't have to believe anything that I say, but you can verify everything that I say, I assure you. Okay? In the 7th century, there were no microscopes. There were no C-sections being performed. There were no hospitals. There was no modern technology. I would think that you would agree with that. Maybe if you don't have knowledge of that, that's fine. Look it up. This is really basic common knowledge. Okay? So, with that being said, Allah has told us in the Quran 1400 years ago in a desert region, it is we who created you in stages. And these trimesters confirm that. These stages of development. The body. And let me tell you why. Because before then, Galen, I don't know if you know who Galen is, but Galen was a scientist who believed that the human being was ejected in its full form, but in a microscopic form, in the complete form of a human being, was ejected into the woman and then grew from there. No, that's not how it works. So Allah says that we created you in stages in the womb in 3 layers of darkness. So you have agreed that the trimesters represent stages, and you have agreed that those 3 wall areas, the infant or the embryo resides within those areas, and so the Quran is correct in saying that we created you in 3 layers. Some translations say layers, some say veils. Inevitably, in the Arabic, it's saying the same thing. So there's no contradiction. Layers, veils, however you want to refer to it, it's saying that there's 3 barriers, three veils of darkness, 3 layers, however you want to refer to it, that you're created in that environment as an embryo, right? Okay, so this doesn't contradict science. The brother brought up the fact that you would need a microscope to verify this because if you was to cut into the womb of a woman, or cut into the stomach of a woman, have you ever done so? Have you seen this happen? And have you? Sure, maybe they could say, okay, it looks like there's 3 layers, but if you were just going to cut into someone you're not really taking time to observe, especially in the 7th century. You're not taking time to count the layers of between the outside of the person and the embryo that's residing inside the person. That's absurd and far-fetched to even think that would happen. That they're going to stop and say, "Well, let's check this out. Let's count these layers." No, that's not happening. If they tried to extract a baby from the womb, they would simply be trying to cut the stomach open and try to get the baby out of there. But they didn't do that. There were no C-sections performed in the 7th century. I assure you.
That's not what I'm reading here.
Okay. Well, what are you reading?
Well,
Are you telling me that you're reading that C-sections were performed in the 7th century?
Cesareans, well, they weren't called cesarean sections. Because a cesarean section is just the medical procedure of cutting a baby out of a woman, where it's saying here that there's even in Greek mythology of stories of twins being cut out of their mother, or I was just reading it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I never said that.
So I mean,
happened.
I'm not saying that they knew all the medical information that we know now, but cutting a baby out of a mother who's in distress and can't give birth is a possibility that could have happened.
Okay, great. That's fine. Okay, so let me ask you this.
I'm saying it's a possibility.
Okay, it's a possibility. I agree. I totally agree. It's a possibility at some point in time someone did that for some reason. I totally agree. But is the Quran, the question is the Quran, is it contradicting the science? No, it's not. So whether or not it's happened at any point in history.
Well, we were discussing what your friend said out of context.
Let me pose this question to you. No matter when it's happened, it doesn't matter if it happened in the 1st century. It doesn't matter when it happened. It doesn't matter if Adam and Eve did it. Does the Quran contradict the science? No. The Quran says we created you in stages. Trimesters represent stages. The Quran says in 3 layers or veils of darkness. And well, lo and behold, you've admitted yourself the what? The amniotic sac, the abdominal wall, and what else?
The uterine wall.
The uterine wall, and that's 3, correct? Three walls.
That's not what we were discussing, though.
That is what we were discussing.
You said
that's exactly what we're discussing.
What your friends. You said what I said. I took what your friend said out of
Let
context.
me hold on. Don't try that. Because that's exactly what the brother. If you want me to bring the video up right now, that is exactly what the brother was discussing.
I remember exactly.
As a matter of fact, me and the brother talked about it. Hold on. I'm not going to let you get away with your lies and deception. I'm not going to let you get away with lies and deception. That is anyone who's listening. Go and listen to the original video. Hold on. Go listen to the original video. Go listen to the cherry picking video that she made, and you'll see that the brother was making the point. She was interrupting, and she wasn't understanding. She was incapable of understanding that he was saying that in order for these 3 layers of this was his argument, but for these 3 layers to be acknowledged, you would need a microscope. That's what he said. I'm saying,
yes,
that's not. Listen, let's make clear. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I believe that there is a possibility that at some point someone cut a baby out of a womb, whether they did it for medical reasons or trying to help the situation, or they just did it to be evil. I believe that it's happened throughout history. But what we're trying to confirm is that the Quran is not contradicting science. Whether you think that someone back in those times did it and then that's where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, got it from, that's fine. You can think that if you want to, but it doesn't contradict science. Inevitably, you've admitted that the 3 trimesters represent stages, and the 3 layers, 3 veils, 3 walls represent they exist, and so the Quran is not contradicting that.
But it's not unremarkable knowledge.
That's fine. You don't have to think it's remarkable. I don't expect you as an atheist to think it's remarkable. That's never a stipulation. That's not a requirement. Hold on. That's not a requirement. But you don't have to think it's remarkable to be able to be humble and admit that it doesn't contradict science.
It's very vague.
It's very vague. That's fine. But does it contradict science? I don't care. You can call it vague all you want to. That's fine. You call it vague. I agree it's vague. Matter of fact, the Quran says that it is we who revealed certain verses of the Quran that are the foundation of the book, and there's others which are ambiguous. And those who have dissension in their heart, looking to cause discord, seek out those that are ambiguous in order to cause problems. And that's what you're doing. Okay, so let's agree. Let's agree. Be humble and just simply be sincere and be honest. Do you agree that the Quran is not incorrect? It's not contradicting science when it says that we created you in stages.
I mean, sure, if that's what you want me to say, sure. But again,
I don't listen. You don't say anything that you don't want to say. But do you agree?
I don't really need to care about.
Do you agree? Do you agree? Listen, take the vague. You don't think it goes in enough detail? I don't.
Avoiding what I was trying to discuss.
Okay.
Because
what you're trying to do, what we're trying to clarify is,
what your brother said. Yes, you want me. What your friend said, that I took that out of context. And that's what I've been trying to clarify, and you're dancing all over the place.
Are you admitting that you took it out of context?
I included that clip because he was incorrect. And that he did not understand the anatomy of a woman.
Maybe he didn't explain. Let me assure you of this. The brother does understand. Hold on. I can't let you say that he doesn't understand. He does understand. Maybe he didn't clarify his statement. He couldn't clarify his statement because you kept interrupting. And then you abruptly left just right after that. Nevertheless, he does understand. He knows exactly what is being stated. And what he was trying to get you to wrap your mind around is that, for one thing, that the Quran isn't contradicting science when it says that we created you in stages, nor is it contradicting science when it says we created you in 3 layers, 3 veils, 3 walls of darkness.
So then what did he mean by needing a microscope? What did I need to see under a microscope?
He was trying to point out to you that in the 7th century, this didn't exist. So these stages of the, hold on, let's clarify this. Please let me answer. Okay, now in modern times we have ultrasound, do we not? We have microscopes, we have ultrasound, and you can see what's hold on. We can see what's transpiring in the womb. We can see it now. Okay, you're functioning with a modern mind, right? What we're trying to convey to you is that God, our Creator, Allah, has revealed this in the Quran 1,400 years ago, telling people that we have created you in stages. Okay, now we have ultrasound that shows these stages. It shows what's transpiring, and the scientists, the embryologists, they're able to say it takes this number of weeks for this to happen, and at this point this is going to happen, and at this point this is going to happen. These are stages of development. Hold on.
So you're saying that he misspoke and meant ultrasound rather than microscope?
No, I'm not saying. He speaks for himself. But you're still sidestepping the issue. Okay, whether he said microscope or ultrasound. Hold on.
I'm trying to clarify.
Okay, well, great. Okay, thank you. Let me. Okay, all right. Maybe you're being sincere, being genuine, and trying to get clarity. So let me. Because you've antagonized me for the past month, I think everything that you're saying is along those lines. So I could be wrong about that. I need to be a little more patient. Alhamdulillah. So may Allah forgive me for being impatient. So let me calm down. Let me try to clarify it. So no, I don't believe the brother is mistaken in him trying to, and really it's a moot point. He was just trying to get you to wrap your mind around the fact that these verses are revealed all this time ago, before we had the luxury of modern technology that could reveal that yes, indeed, the baby grows in these particular stages, and it is protected in 3 layers, in 3 walls. And obviously it's dark in the womb. It's not lit up in there. There's no lighting in there. So these are 3 layers of darkness. The reason Allah is mentioning these layers. We have the luxury of modern technology that tells us it's the uterine wall, the abdominal wall, and what? The
abdominal wall, the
amniotic
uterine
sac.
wall, and the amniotic sac.
Right. So obviously, we have the luxury of knowing that because we live in modern times after the invention of microscope and ultrasound and all those things.
That's not information you would need modern technology to know.
Man, that's ludicrous. That's
You know what an
that's
uncalled
completely
birth
ludicrous.
is?
That's ludicrous. And
How is it ludicrous?
remember, I remind you, this is being recorded, and
I'm recording it as well.
I'm glad.
So how is it ludicrous?
Listen, post it all over the place because what you've just stated is ludicrous.
How is it ludicrous?
Okay. For one, you said we don't need the microscopes and the ultrasound in order to know those things. Okay, well,
It's knowledge
that's what
people could
that's
have
what
had
you
back
would
then.
call that's what you would call a red herring for one, because
How
really
so?
you're trying to divert the issue from the fact that the Quran isn't contradicting science. Okay, it's not contradicting science. So you've admitted.
That's not, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
You
so
say
you admit-
that it was 1,400 years ago. There's no way they could have known that. I'm contradicting that point by saying it's very possible they could have known that back then.
Okay, but
So
nevertheless,
I'm not saying that the Quran is contradicting science. I am contradicting what you are telling me in regards to people not knowing 1,400 years ago this information.
okay, what information in particular? Let's maybe I'm not clear on what.
The three veils of darkness.
Okay, do you have any record
was
of
in
people in the
particular-
7th century? Do you have any record of people in the 7th century having knowledge of this? Maybe you know something that I don't.
Well, sure, there was midwives back then who deliver babies.
No,
Did you know that some
now you're
babies are
speculating.
born
You're
still?
using conjecture. You're using conjecture. When you make a claim in the debate world, you have to produce your proof. Okay.
I'm not
So
saying
I'm
for
asking
sure.
quite
I'm
clearly,
saying it's a
maybe, and I'm giving
possibility
you the
and how
benefit.
that's a possibility.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Okay. I'm asking you, do you have any record anywhere where these studies were being conducted in the 7th century?
Do I have studies from the 7th century? No, that is not a possible.
No. Okay. So, all right. So,
But that doesn't mean that these things didn't take place,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
it doesn't
why I'm
mean that
trying
they-
to
it
tell you
doesn't-
that it's a possibility
okay, it's
and how they
argument from
possibly
ignorance.
have known this
In
information.
the debate world, it's called an argument from ignorance, right? So you're trying to imply that something that you can't prove happened in the 7th century when you have no proof of it.
But
That's
you don't have
that's
any
argument
proof of
from
it that it
ignorance.
didn't happen.
Huh?
So you said, do you have proof that they didn't do that?
I haven't tried to make that claim.
So
My claim is
neither one of us know for sure.
no. I haven't made the argument though. That you're trying to make that argument. So you got to produce your proof. I'm not making that argument. What I'm saying is, and trying to get you to wrap your mind around, is that the Quran, regardless of if they had that information back then or not, you've admitted yourself, and let's clarify. You admit that the Quran is not contradicting the fact that modern technology has proven that the embryo develops in stages. Do you agree? The Quran's not
I agree with that
contradicting
statement.
Huh?
I said I can agree with that statement.
Okay, the Quran, you agree the Quran is not contradicting that fact.
That particular fact, no.
Okay, and you agree that the Quran says in 3 layers or veils or walls of darkness. And we've talked about the 3 walls repeatedly. And so is the Quran making any, is it contradicting science when it says in 3 layers of darkness?
I've already said that
it's vague.
that particular statement does not contradict what we
Okay.
know of science.
Okay, case closed. If we were in a
Case
courtroom,
closed in
I would have won the jury's vote.
I didn't make the claim that the Quran was contradicting science. So what did you win?
Well, listen, if you're denying the fact that obviously we as Muslims believe, and we have evidence of the fact that the Quran was revealed directly from our Creator. Okay.
And what evidence is that?
Okay. Well, let's go one point at a time. But I'll produce that proof here in a second. Thank you for asking. So, obviously, you as an atheist, you want to try to undermine and deny the existence of our Creator. We as Muslims are talking from a point that we're trying to get you to ponder and reflect on the fact that the ability for a man in the 7th century who could not read nor write to have this type of a knowledge and be able to accurately say that we've created you in stages in 3 veils of darkness, and it be accurate with modern science proving that's remarkable. That's not
remarkable. That's not remarkable at all, and that's why I tried to bring up the topic that it's a possibility they could have known that back then, because you make the claim that it's remarkable because they didn't do it.
You can't produce any evidence to the contrary.
And what evidence do you have to support it? Because now you are making the claim that it's remarkable.
Well, that's why I told you in the debate world that's called an argument from ignorance. You're asking me to produce something that doesn't exist.
But
you don't have it. Hold on. You don't have it, nor do I have it. But that's beside the point. It doesn't. It's still You've admitted yourself that the Quran is not contradicting the science. Okay, so now you're asking me to produce something. What do you want me to prove?
Because you're stating that it's remarkable that they knew that it was written in the Quran.
Right, absolutely. And you can't produce. You have no evidence of anything saying that any of these procedures.
But you can't prove that claim true.
You have no evidence showing
that it's remarkable.
You have no evidence showing that any of these procedures took place and that they had this knowledge in the 7th century. There was Galen, and I can't remember the other man's name right now. But they were doing research, but one of them, not Galen, but the other one, his name slips my mind right now. He was actually studying the eggs, chicken eggs, right? So he's doing study of human development with chicken eggs. So he's disqualified. Galen, however, it was his theory that once again that the human body in its full form and just microscopic was ejected into the womb of the woman and it grew from there. It was already in its full form, hands, toes, fingers, and all those things, and then it grew from there. So obviously that theory is out the window. It's inconsistent. So there were people looking into that. Actually, that was so that there were things transpiring like that, and I've admitted that I believe that at some point someone's womb was cut open at some point. Okay, but that's neither here nor there, because what we're talking about is the Quran contradicting the science. And do you have any proof, despite our speculating on the matter, do we have any evidence from the 7th century or any point prior that someone went in and was able to say for sure, when obviously the modern science is what's proven it, with the development of the microscope and the ultrasound, that's how we know about the stages of development. People before that, they would have no knowledge of that. Okay, so there's other things that the Quran mentions about how there was first flesh, and then there was bones, and then we covered the bones with flesh. Okay, can you wrap your mind around that? That would require for this to be revealed all this time ago, and Allah says specifically that we created you, and I'm just paraphrasing, says that originally the human being was just a lump of flesh, and then we developed bones with the flesh, and then we covered the bones with flesh. Do you understand what's happening there?
You're trying to simplify development.
I'm not trying to simplify anything. I just asked you a simple question. Do you understand what's happening there? I'm telling you.
I understand what you're trying to say, yes.
Okay, no, I don't think you do. So let me clarify for you. Okay, so modern science has confirmed, and the Quran revealed this all this time ago, that indeed, originally we come from a single drop, right? A single drop.
Single cell.
And, right. Then we begin to form. And initially what forms is the flesh. We become a fleshy substance. And the bones begin to grow within the flesh. Okay, so initially there's flesh, and then the bones grow within the flesh, and then Allah says, and then we covered it with flesh. We covered the bones with flesh. And I'm paraphrasing, okay, but this is, I mean, it's saying basically the same thing. You were flesh, then we gave you bones and structure with the flesh, and then we covered the bones with flesh. Okay?
Bones were already covered with flesh, though, so
No.
that doesn't really make sense.
Okay, I'm so glad you made that point, because think about this, okay? So, in the makeup of our bodies, okay, now remember this is being revealed 1,400 years ago. Modern science has proven and that has confirmed what the Quran stated all this time ago. So think about your body right now, okay? Your body is made up of inner organs, and you have a skeletal structure. What's on the outside of the skeletal structure?
Your muscles, your tendons, your skin.
Right, your muscles, skin, isn't that flesh?
It's all flesh, yes.
Yes. Right. So you have flesh, just like the Quran states, your flesh, then your bones, and then we covered the bones with flesh. Okay? Right? So what this is pointing out, that only modern science knows how this works, right? But this is revealed all this time ago, and Allah says quite clearly, you were flesh, then we gave you bones, then we covered the bones with flesh. And once again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it states. Okay, so obviously we have the inner organs, the heart, all the inner organs. We have the skeletal, and then we have muscles that are flesh that are covering the bones. And so modern science has shown through the microscope and through the ultrasound and all those things how these things begin to transpire. So these particular verses are in a different area of the Quran. So in different areas of the Quran, 4 different occasions, Allah makes reference to the womb and the development of the embryo in the womb. Once again, it's not embryology. It's just making brief. It's calling our attention to that. And once again, remember I told you that the Quran says it's we who it says we'll show them our signs in the universe and within themselves. Okay, so we can talk about the universe. We don't get off topic right now. Right now we're talking about within themselves. Okay, we talked about the frontal lobe. If you want to talk about that more, we can do that. And you don't want to do that either. I promise you. Okay,
well,
so
at the moment,
okay.
I have to actually get going because I have certain things that I need to get done. So we're going to have to come back to this at a later time.
Well, it'd be nice of you, and I realize that hopefully I've clarified my issues with you. Okay, if you never antagonize me about any of my posts, remember you were doing that, and I was trying to get you to come to the platform so we can engage in conversation. Then when you came with a different name, and I forgot what the name was when I made the video. At first I had it actually as Wheeling, and then I changed it because I thought Brother Faisal said Wheeler for some reason, and I changed it to Wheeler. So I had it right, then I second-guessed myself. Nevertheless, when you came in, I knew who it was. I didn't make a big issue about it. I didn't tell the brothers in the room that you had been antagonizing me with other people, right? I treated you with decency and respect. I tried to engage you in an actual meaningful conversation. I talked to you passionately. I talked to you calmly, and through the course of a conversation, just like what happens when people have conversations, the vast majority of the conversation, you even admitted in your video, the vast majority of the conversation was quite peaceful, right? And there was
you can have your opinion on how you treated me, and I can have my opinion on how I was treated. I mean, okay. I felt how I felt, and you can't change my opinion on that. But no, I do have to leave.
Try to change your opinion.
Things
but when I told you how you felt based on psychology, you said that
you
I
were
can't tell you how you felt. But how I told you how you felt.
But I do have to be on my way.
Okay, well that's fine.
Have a great day.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Truth is made clear from falsehood. So once again, this lady, she has no platform to stand upon. She's an antagonist of Islam and Christianity, for that matter, as well. And I find it truly disgusting. I do believe she's a liar and a deceiver. Until she proves me otherwise, I'll have to believe that that's what she is. And I don't believe that all atheists are necessarily evil people, but obviously when you spend vast amounts of your time talking about a God that you don't believe exists, and you antagonize people who do believe in a God, when there's a million other things a person could be doing in the world besides focusing on that subject. I believe that it's a mercy from Allah, that it's the fitra that's within us, that we're born with, that Allah gives us a natural inclination to know that there's something or someone greater. We have that urge within us to cry out to something or someone greater than ourselves whenever times of trouble come, or when we feel desperate, or when we feel that we're incapable, or everyone around us doesn't have an answer. We're in the midst of this coronavirus right now, and the doctors are scrambling trying to find solutions. And so what do people do? If you're a believer, you find peace by saying, oh Allah, I know that you're in control, have no reason to fear. And so obviously atheists don't have that luxury. They see themselves as self-sufficient, and they spend all this time trying to mock and ridicule those who believe, because I believe they're trying to fight off that natural inclination to believe that a God exists. I think any reminder, matter of fact, I just wrote about this in the blog today, that any reminder of the fact that a God exists causes a discomfort within the atheist. And that is psychology. And so, just plain and simple. You can deny it, but quite simply, if you feel discomfort, it's there for some reason, and you're trying to find a way to cope with it. And the way that they cope with it is try to ridicule and mock and antagonize those who believe, because we simply remind them of the existence of our Creator. So I just find it absurd for people to spend so much time and effort trying to mock our Creator when they have so many other things they can do. If they don't believe, that's fine. You don't believe, find something else to do. But why continue to keep talking about this issue over and over again and antagonize the people who want to talk, who believe rather. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me for being impatient. Just been dealing with this individual who was the root of the initial problem with all those atheists in that particular group, which is why I don't go to social media to engage in debate via text. I call it copy and paste land. It's a waste of time. It's hard enough to deal with them in this platform where we're actually having a conversation, much less spending all this time typing these long responses up. I'm not doing that. So, once again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me for any mistakes that I've made and help me to be a little more patient dealing with these people. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases me in knowledge, and He has mercy on each and every one of us on the Day of Judgment. I bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His final servant and seal of all prophets. This is, once again, Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, where truth is made clear from falsehood. And my book, which side is it? You can get it on Amazon or on this way. Yeah, that way. Okay, on Amazon. This way. Yes, my book. This is a new backdrop. So anyway, you can find my book, Consider Islam, Disproving the Patriots of Propaganda, on Amazon or on my website, kennybomer.com. And I am in the process of writing the second book, Everything's a Test, Truth is Made Clear from Falsehood. So I thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.